Hey, today we're gonna be going over the unboxing and assembly of Mrs. Homeworld's new birthday present. Shh, don't tell her. Howdy, and welcome to the channel. And the introductory short was correct. We are going to be going over Mrs. Homeworld's brand new tiller. She does an amazing job growing in the garden, and I want to give her something that will work wonderfully out there to get all of the stuff she needs to amend the soil actually rotated in the soil. Now, the nice thing about this particular unit is it comes not with 1, 2, or 3, but 4 6 amp hour 40 volt batteries. Okay, let's go ahead and cut into this now. Now, I will definitely tell you, whenever you go to the store, open the package at the store and make sure that everything that is supposed to be in the package is actually included. I purchased a 40 volt mower that was supposed to be a kit. Whenever I got it home, it had the charger. You can see the charger here. It had the 40 volt charger. It had the mower. It had the discharge, but it did not have the battery that was supposed to come with it. And whenever I contacted my Direct Tools outlet that I bought it from, I said this was missing out of the package. And they said, sorry, all sales are final. Whatever was in the box whenever you bought it is what came with it. Well, when we picked this one up, I specifically did not walk out of the store until we opened the box to verify that the batteries were inside the case. So learn from my mistake and make sure that you open up your packages and all of the parts are included with it. So with this one, you can tell that we have actually a 2-port charger with this unit. So we have our assembly instructions in the big page here. This is English, but on the back side, we actually have Spanish, and I'm pretty sure it's French on the bottom. So we have our actual handle. It has a nice connector on it. Go ahead and set that aside. So here are 2 sets of tines, our left and our right side, and they are labeled. You can actually see we have an R there, and we have an L on this side of our tine, so we can see which side is left and right. We have one of our pneumatic tires, and again, it's labeled, so nice job that they keep everything labeled. And then on this side, we have our Schrader valve, and then we have looks like a tool storage compartment. We'll have to verify that's what that is here in a little bit. We have the dirt shield that is going to go onto the top of the tines, and this is to protect you from getting the tine beat out of you. Some more assembly for it. There is the other side of it. We have another tire, and this one, of course, is going to be labeled left. Another handle piece of some kind. We have our rear rake and the main body itself, but we also have the ever important batteries. So we should have 4 of these. Okay, let's go ahead and open up these batteries, and I'll go ahead and throw them up here on my 3-port charger, and I will also connect up the 2-port charger. So I'm going to take the charger that came with it, and I'm going to plug it in up here. I am curious if they charge at the same time or if it's one at a time. I have a feeling it's sequentially. That is not sequentially. That is showing that they're both charging at the exact same time. That's really great. I am pumped. So if you buy one of these and you're looking for the hardware package, it's hidden in the battery compartment. So inside the battery compartment, we have the handy dandy, this is everything that Ryobi sells. We also have our product registration page. Then we have our operator's manual. That is important. I'm gonna keep that for Mrs. Homeworld. And then we have battery packed information. Okay, along with that in here, we also have all of the items we need to assemble our unit in a big Ziploc baggie. It even comes with tools. So the very first thing it tells us we need to do is we need to put our big handle here on the back. Okay, so for this portion, we're going to use 4 of the larger zinc plated bolts with some flat washers and the nylock nuts. And these bolts are roughly 2 3/8 inches long, about 6 centimeters long. And they have a square shank on them. And those square shanks are actually going to fit into the square receivers here. So you don't have to worry about these bolts spinning out because that square in there is actually going to hold the head of the bolt. Before you assemble this, you want to make sure that this little plastic sleeve is all the way up where it's supposed to be. You can actually see there is a through hole. Well, that actually has to align align with the hole up here so that your bolt can go all the way through. With that held in position, we're just gonna take our bolt, we're gonna slide one through, and then let's grab the other side, put a bolt through it. So let's go ahead and grab our third bolt, and we're going to slide it through. And then our final bolt, just gonna make sure it's pushed all the way up in. Now for me, it wasn't perfectly aligned. Once I get it all the way to the other side, it's gonna be fine. So what I'm doing is I'm actually spinning it, and I'm just simply threading it through the plastic piece that's on the inside. And now let's see if I can get it to align. There. So next we're gonna be putting on our flat washers. Now washers have a rounded side, and then they have typically a rough side. You're gonna wanna have the smoother side, the rounded side, facing towards the metal, and then have the rougher side facing towards the nut. And the reason that you do that is the nut is zinc coated and it can easily be replaced. However, if you cut into the metal framework, that is not easily replaced, and that is going to rust on you very badly and can cause you problems. So whenever you do it this way, you prevent your tools from having future problems. Let's go ahead and run these down now. So next we're gonna be putting the control wires together. Now we have this one that's coming out from the handle, and we actually wanna bring it forward, and then we grab ours from the bottom, and you can see that they just simply marry into each other, and then we're able to tighten them down. Now our connection is secured. So for the next stage, we're gonna be assembling the bull bar or the pull bar, depending on what you wanna call it. And this is actually where the ballast tank is going to be sitting, and it's gonna go here on the front. Now to do this, we are going to have to use 4 of the larger washers, and these are the same washers that we used on the handle. And then we have 4 of these larger bolts with the Allen head. Now that should have been included an Allen wrench with it. Now these are about 1.1/16 long, or it is about 26 millimeters long. And whenever we put this together, we take our bolt and we take our washer with the rough side out, and we're going to take this. You can see our holes down here. We just need to take this down until it lines up. And I'm gonna go ahead and get one on the other side real quick. Now that the other side's done, I'm just gonna grab the top one over here. So now we just take our Allen wrench and put it on here and tighten it down as far as it'll go. Before you tighten any one of these, you'll wanna have all 4 in, because if you tighten it on one, there's a good chance that you cannot get it to align on the other holes the way that you need it to be. So now I'm going to tighten this the rest of the way down, turning it lengthwise so we have good leverage on our leverage arm. Okay, so next we have our ballast tank. Now, I think I called this a tool storage unit earlier in it. Well, this is actually the ballast tank. Go ahead and pull our lid off of our ballast tank, and then we can set our ballast tank on here. Sand would be an absolutely perfect thing to stick in here. For the ballast tank, we're gonna be using the same bolts that we used here on our handle, and we're also gonna be using the wing nuts. Now with these, you just tighten them down by hand. You don't need a tool to use on these, and that actually makes this ballast tank a removable item. So the bolts are gonna come in from the bull bar into the inside. Now, just so these don't fall out, I'm gonna go ahead and put on the wing nuts at least loosely. Okay, now that you have all 4 bolts in, now is whenever you want to go through and tighten them down. You don't have to go crazy with this because it's just a piece of plastic. If you go really, really hard, you're going to end up causing damage to the unit. So for the next section, the instructions aren't very clear, but the way typically assembly instructions are concerned is when you're in position of the operator. So when you're standing back here, the left side will literally be the left when you're the operator, and the right side will be the right when you're the operator. Now, these wheels are really cool in the way this axle works. Let's say you're out in the middle of the field, you're doing some work, and all of a sudden, the batteries go completely out. You've used all your batteries now. Well, you don't have to worry about trying to push this thing against the batteries. this actually has two different positions with our pin down at the bottom, which I'm about to show you, which will allow you to use this either motorized or with completely dead batteries. Let me go ahead and put this wheel on and I'll show you that feature. So first of all, we're gonna be taking our left wheel here, and whenever we put our wheels on, you want to make sure that your Schrader valve is on the outside. We're gonna have our pin, so we simply push down and rotate out and pull our pin out, and then we have a washer. The washer should be in between the body and the wheel. Whenever we put our wheel on, if we just want the wheel to spin freely, then we simply take our pin, lock it on the outside, and our wheel is just going to freely spin. Same thing with the other side. However, if we want to use this in automatic mode where the motor is actually turning the wheels, then we want to align our pin here on the inside and lock it in that way. And now you can hear I'm actually rotating the motor that's on the inside. So next we're gonna be attaching our dirt shield here. And whenever we put this in, the tines on the bottom of the dirt shield should be pointing inwards, not out. Otherwise, that'd really hurt your shin if it flew up. And there is a rod that goes across the back, and you have these two little pivot points that are on here. And that's where our bolt holes are going to go. You see you have a bolt hole here and a bolt hole here, and it's gonna align to those pieces. Now for this, we're gonna use these two very small bolts, the small flat washers and the nylock nuts. Now with these bolts, you're gonna have blue Loctite on them. Now on mine, they actually put the blue Loctite all the way to the very end, so the nylock nut may actually have a hard time starting on your bolt. But you'll wanna leave this here because it's actually gonna stop the nut from backing off the bolt. Now for this assembly, we're gonna take our bolt, and we're gonna put it through, then we're gonna put it on this piece, then we're gonna put on a flat washer, and then we're going to finish up with a nylock nut. Now we're gonna go to the other side. We're gonna wash, rinse, repeat. Bolt goes through the outside, goes into the hinge. Then we have a flat washer, and then we have our nylock nut. So for the bolt itself, you're gonna grab the Allen wrench that was included and put it on the bolt. Now they do include this wrench that you can use, and if you need it, by all means use it, but I prefer not to. So for this, it's actually an 8mm that is on here. So I'm just gonna use a ratchet with an 8mm to tighten these down, and then just tighten down the nut. So it's now time to put our tines on. We're gonna start with the left side. You can see we have the left here. Now, whenever you put these on, you can see that there is a hole on the inside. We're gonna have a pin that actually goes through this. You can see that this tine is level with the outside. That will be the outside of your unit. So we're gonna take our tine and slide it on. So for this, we're gonna have to use a pin and clip. So we're simply going to put the pin through, and then after we have it through, we're going to put on the clip itself. And usually what I do is exactly what you just saw. You can slide it on a lot easier on the end. And then once you have it on there, you can easily rotate it around. But we're gonna go ahead and put it on. Usually you can just put the pin on top and then rotate it around and move it around until the pin falls all the way through. And once your pin falls through, you just take your clip and slide it on. And now your tine's not going anywhere. Now we need to wash, rinse, repeat on the right side. So while we've been filming here, we heard the fan kick off on this charger. Well, these two batteries here are already fully charged. This one up here on the 3-port is still charging the first battery, and it's only 2 with the third one flashing. So it's not even 75% of the way charged yet. So I'm actually gonna unplug one of these, and I'm gonna pull the battery out of here, and I'm gonna pop it in here, because the speed at which this charges is significantly faster than my 3-port. So next we're gonna put on this outer shield. And whenever we put on this outer shield, there is a bump that is on it. And you can see the bump here. And you want the bump to go to the inside to give you clearance for the outer shield. So for this panel, we're gonna use 3 of these bolts. Now, some people call these flathead bolts, but for the purpose of this educational video, it's the one that has the cone shape to it. And you can see that on our panel here, it actually has a similar shape to it. And that is to allow grip strength, but allow the head to recess so it'll be flush with the metal. So we're just gonna take this metal piece. We're gonna take this funky little tool that came with it. And all this is a Torx It's nothing fancy at all. And then we're gonna take that and gently put it in, grab our next 3 bolts. Now these little bolts that go in here, those are going to be about 3/8 of an inch long or 1 centimeter in length. Now we're gonna have that loose on there, and next we're going to assemble our outer piece. And then we're gonna have our lock down here so we can actually adjust this for depths. Now for our front one that's gonna go up here, we're going to use this slightly longer one, and that is 5/8 inches in length or 15 millimeters in length. Now whenever we put this one on, we're going to want to put the bolt through, then we're gonna want to put a washer on, and then we're going to take it and put it in this front. And this is why we didn't want to tighten everything just yet, because we want to make sure that we're able to put this in properly. So the last part on this is we're going to take our green quick handle here, and we're going to bring the panel up, and then we're going to put our bolt through. And you can tighten this down. And now if you want to adjust this, you simply unscrew it, and you can now bring this up to the next position and tighten it back down, etc., etc. So you've got 4 different depths that you can put this at. So there we go. Now we're just gonna wash, rinse, repeat that on the right side. So next we're gonna be installing our depth bar, and this is adjustable, and all we have to do is once our bar is in here, we can pull out on this plunge pin, which is spring loaded, and adjust the depth of how deep we want our tines to go. So to install this portion goes towards the rear or where you're standing. Now we're gonna take and flip up our cover here that stops rocks and stuff from kicking up on you, and we're gonna lift the entire unit up. And now we're gonna take our depth bar and we're gonna slide it up through, and then we're gonna pull our pin, and now you can see that's how we can make our depth adjustments. To prevent our depth bar from falling out, we can actually take this metal bar, and this also serves as a handle, so we can simply pull out, and now you can pull up and down on this handle. So this is gonna be a 13 mil, or you can use the wrench that came with it. So now we have this nice handle so that we can easily adjust our depth bar. Now, as you use your tiller, you're gonna determine how much ballast you actually need to put in the front. So this is gonna vary depending on your soil and depending on what you're trying to use your tiller for. So understand that if it's empty at the beginning, you're gonna struggle with it, and your wheels are probably gonna end up spinning without actually cutting hard into the ground. If it does that, then throw some sand in it. That will add your ballast that you need, which will give you weight on the front of your tool. But once you're done filling it up, you simply use these 4 connecting pins, and we simply put our lid on top of our ballast. Now to operate the unit, we simply flip up our piece, and you can see that there's an A side and a B side, and it is very important how you populate this. You can pair with A, you can pair with B, or you can stick all 4 in there at a time. You should not have one in A and one in B, or over here and over here. You need to have a pair here and a pair here. This is our operating key. If you are wanting to leave it for the day, but leave it out in your field, and you don't want anybody like a little child to come up and play with it, you can leave the batteries in here, simply pull out your key, throw it in your pocket, do what you need to do. Whenever you come back and you want to use it, just take the key, simply insert it. So this is a good safety feature that they have if you're going to be leaving this in an area where little hands can get to it. Now, if you are running pair A, then your safety key needs to have the arrow pointed over to pair A. If you're going to be using pair B, you need to pull out said key and flip it around and put it in, and the arrow will point and say these are the batteries that we're trying to use. Now, the one really nice feature about this tiller, not all tillers have this, but a lot of them do, is it actually has an adjustable handle, and that actually makes a big difference the deeper this unit goes, and depending on how tall or short you are. But it's got 3 positions, and we simply pull on the handle and we move it to where it needs to be. Now, obviously, you're not going to be using this position out in the field, but you will be using this position when you're wanting to store this tiller. So that goes over the 40-volt brushless tiller from Ryobi, whatever they are. Thank you very much for putting out an amazing tool. It did great. We really enjoyed it. We used it to do our entire garden out there. We did varying depths. We used it for quite a while, and we're down to a little less than 25% battery life on the 2 batteries. And with this freaking fast charger, I'm not worried about running out of batteries. If you have any questions about this particular tool or any of the other ones that you've seen me talk about or behind me, please leave it in the comment section below. I love hearing from you guys. We have great comments like this really long one here. You know what? That's all valid points. I agree with that, but I really appreciate the comments that are helpful for others and helpful for me as well. I've learned some stuff from you guys, and I love that. So that's what this community is all about. It's about helping one another, and I appreciate any of the long comments like that, or even the short comments that let us know the different tips and tricks for the tools that we have so that we can use them better and do a better job with them. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great day.